This is the Cubs POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Cubs postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. My name is Joe George. You find me on Twitter at Joe George Radio. And the Cubs lose 4-2 to the San Diego Padres, their first series loss on American soil this year. We'll recap the series and what happened on this road trip all right now. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. All right, so the Cubs lose this one 4-2. The problems that were kind of an issue on this road trip in the three losses were all kind of the same. That's one of the things that's the biggest takeaway from this six-game road trip that the Cubs had versus the Dodgers and the Padres. And there'll be stuff that we'll talk about, glass half full, glass half empty reactions that we'll hear and see from the fans after this series, these two series. But walks were the problem again in this game. Matthew Boyd was fine for most of the game, and then walks became a problem for him, and so were infield singles. For the Padres' first six hits, were infield singles. You just kind of got infield singled to death in this game and walked. You gave the Padres too many free opportunities and didn't get enough in this game. So the two common themes between the two losses in this series, again, are walks. The same thing with the one Dodgers game that you lost. Just too many walks from the Cubs pitching staff, from the rotation to the bullpen. That was really the number one problem in this game, these two series. 7 walks by the Padres in this game. That's too good of a baseball team to be giving that many free opportunities to. They're just too talented, whether it's Fernando Tatis Jr. or Xander Bogaerts or Machado or even guys like Gavin Sheets who had your number in the first game of this series. You're just not going to win series when you give that many guys free base paths. And that's, to me, why the Cubs lost. Yes, the lineup did not help really in these two losses against the Padres. They didn't do their job either. The Cubs had another opportunity in this one, really only one in this game, where they had like a golden opportunity there in the top of the third. Carson Kelly gets a single, Birdie walks, Happ gets a single, got the bases juiced, no outs. Kyle Tucker does his job, sack fly, could have gotten more, yes, but he gets a sack fly. There's one out in the inning, and it's 1-0 Cubs. And then Seiya Suzuki returns to the lineup and hits into a double play, and the inning's over. And that was really the Cubs' only opportunity to score runs in this game with guys on base. So you had the Pete Crow-Armstrong home run, and that was your offense in this one. So it's not as bad as the first game of the Padres series where there was, 14 guys left on base. Obviously, the Cubs did not have that in this game. So the lineup just didn't do its job, and I think that's how you point back to this series overall and say, okay, it goes 3-3 on this road trip for, again, 3 reasons. The walks, the bullpen, the lineup. And just not consistent over this trip. You had some really positive moments. Michael Busch, Pete Crow-Armstrong highlight that for sure. And then your lowlights are the bullpen, Dansby Swanson, some of the other guys in this lineup, the near injuries that happened. So really, I would just call this series a total mixed bag, and we'll take your guys' reaction to this game and to this series as well. Stale Potato, great name, says throw away the Swanson contract. Yeah, he's struggling. Larry asked what Swanson is hitting right now. He's down to 169. Him and Justin Turner, the two guys hitting below 200. Now, Justin Turner obviously not in the lineup today. Did pinch hit for John Birdie. He's hitting 152 on the year. Swanson hitting 169. So after you send down Shaw, those are the two guys that are struggling the most. And I agree. Dansby Swanson is not close. He's in his feels right now at the plate. The early, return on the torpedo bat seemed very positive for him. Felt like there was, some confidence that was happening with that bat in his hand. And that seems to now be lost. So we'll see what happens. Maybe a day off getting back to Chicago will help him out quite a bit because he needs it. Because, look, we know Dansby Swanson has not been the player that Cubs fans expected, to say the least, when they signed him to that contract. Defensively, absolutely. Offensively, no. But where he's at right now in the lineup, it's a huge issue. And really, and it's baseball 101, it always just feels like is that when you're struggling, the ball will find you. And the guys will be on base, and it will find you when you need an opportunity it seems like it comes to Swanson at some point in the lineup, and he just can't really get it done throughout this 6-game road trip. It's been the struggle bus. But again, today, it's not just the lineup, it's the walks. I mean, if you look at what happened there when Boyd gave up the run there, the 2 runs there in the bottom of the third, Diaz walks, Wade hits a single. So you got runners at first and third, 1 out. He struck out Connor Joe, the first batter. Tatis gets an infield single. Really nice play by Nico Horner, but just doesn't get there in time. Arise gets a line out, and then Manny Machado, who was a killer for the Cubs this series, against the Cubs this series, gets an RBI single. That makes it 2-1. And then Palencia in the bottom of the 7th nearly gets out of it. But he lives a slider up and over the plate, and Manny Machado gets the RBI double, and it's 3-1 at that point. And that was pretty much the ball game. PCA hit the home run, which was nice. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can, I think, I guess, the blame pie chart you can look at this series for. And look, again, this is their first series loss in the United States of America. You went 3-3 against the Dodgers and the Padres. You're 12-9, yes, but you're going through the toughest schedule of everyone in baseball this month. It is incredible what the Cubs are going to go through. The Diamondbacks again, the Dodgers again. You beat the Padres once. You've beaten the Dodgers once in a series. So you lost this one. Asking them to win every single series, it's all what we want to do, but it's not what they're not going to do that every time. So 3-3 road trip, I'll be honest. I'm going to look at this thing kind of glass half full. I think this is a positive road trip for the Cubs. You could have won more. Absolutely. Your bullpen was a disaster. Absolutely. One of the positives from this bullpen being a disaster is that guys got sent down, to be honest. Like they were able to see how bad it was and remove some of the mess from the Cubs bullpen. Like that to me is a small victory at this point in the season, because I was done with seeing Nate Pearson, pitch for the Cubs again. And I honestly, no offense to him, like nothing personal, but I hope we don't see it again. The positives of this 6-game series, again, are Pete Crow-Armstrong and Michael Busch. 3 home runs each. That to me is where, if you look at this team with what Kyle Tucker can do, with what we know Seiya can do offensively, what Ian Happ can do, I know he's been, not great either at this point in the season, what Nico Horner has been doing. Those are the positives, is that Pete Crow-Armstrong and Michael Busch, they seem to have a lot of success on the West Coast. If they can find a way to bring that success back home, starting with this Diamondback series, the lineup should continue to be a huge problem for other teams in Major League Baseball. All right, we'll talk more about this game, more of your guys' reaction to the Cubs losing this game versus the Padres before they head home to take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. All that coming up next year on the Locked On Cubs postcast on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With PrizePicks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. So if Luka Doncic if you think he's going to score more than 28 points and Jason Tatum is going to get more than 8 rebounds, you can package those guys together. Look at Josh Giddey tonight, where he's at with his points, rebounds, and assists more or less tonight. I've got more on Josh Giddey. Need him. I think I got a positive result from the Cubs one today. I got to double check that actually now that I think about it. But PrizePicks, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Today's show also brought to you by Gametime, the official ticketing partner of Locked On. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live, especially at Wrigley Field. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as game time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. I'm going to the day game against the Giants on May 7th and bought my tickets using Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, a couple other reactions to this. We'll get to your comments here as well on the show. So Palencia was throwing gas. Obviously, he's throwing 101. Really, just that one pitch for him was the one that did him, and not that it really mattered. Honestly, like the Cubs offense just didn't do enough in this game. I do like, as a positive, also coming out of this series, just the early return we're seeing out of him. I don't know, what he's really, really capable of, like how high leverage he can be. But I did enjoy what we saw from his appearance in this game as well. Just like seeing him come out there, throw 100 plus consistently. And again, just one bad pitch against one of the best hitters in baseball, a guy, Manny Machado, who had over 100 RBIs last year. So I'd say a 50-50 performance just because it ended poorly for him. But look, going into this next series versus the Diamondbacks, couple things I want to keep an eye on that are important to me. The first one is what are you getting against Suarez? A guy who hit 3 home runs against you in that first 4-game series of the year. How did the Cubs attack him? And can you get Dansby Swanson back on track a little bit? Because that to me is, again, one of the only guys in this lineup right now that I would really consider moving. I don't want to tinker with lineups at this point in the season. If I'm Craig Counsell, I want to see how this thing works out over a larger sample size. But there is a reality of the situation that if you're going to make a move, you have to do something with him. Mark asked, what are the Cubs going to do about the bullpen? Bay Bears asked the same thing about adding a starter or a bullpen arm. Unfortunately, I just don't know if we're going to see those things happen quickly. Specifically, you've got these guys who you just called up, and you've got guys who have begun rehab appearances in the minors that all cannot be in the starting rotation. So before the Cubs are going to start, removing, prospects from their system to fix their bullpen issues specifically, and even to figure out the Justin Steele gap, I think that they're first going to look internally. So while the bullpen, obviously, giving up 8 earned runs in the first game of the series, the walks again, not just from Boyd, but from the bullpen today, a problem. And really throughout this whole 6-game road trip, all the losses, the other team had a ton of walks. I don't think that we're going to see them making a immediate reaction. Bay Bears was asking if they trade for a bat. Sorry, missed that part of the question. I don't think so. What are they going to play? Third base? That's really the only thing I would say you're going to see is if they're going to make a move for a bat would be at third base. They're not going to add in the outfield, second, short, first. They're all covered. Obviously, catcher is covered. So third base is really the only position that you could go out and acquire, which, of course, you could have just had Alex Bregman in free agency and solve your problems there. So I know after a series loss, people are kind of, I think the bullpen specifically and the rotations where people would want to see them make a move. Just with how this series went against the Padres, it just shows a lack of confidence from us and fans. I mean, I'm a fan. There's a lack of confidence in what the Cubs have, really after you get out of the 5th inning. If you're not in a situation where Porter Hodge, and I would say right now, Ryan Presley can get in and be a factor into the back end of a game. The other guys who are your non-leverage guys are not allowing them to, keep games within striking distance all the time. And again, I don't think the bullpen deserves all the blame for a loss like today. You only had one opportunity with multiple guys on base, and Kyle Tucker, he got the sac fly, yes, but you expect superstars to drive in more frequently. Other than not, he will. But he had one. There was only one out in the inning, and then Seiya Suzuki did nothing, grounded into a double play, and the inning was over. So that could have been a moment there where against Nick Pivetta, who was striking guys out left and right, it feel like you could have taken opportunity of that moment. And the Cubs just did not. And that, again, goes back to the first game of the series where, yes, the bullpen gave up 8 earned runs, but the Cubs had 14 guys left on base. So overall, just a bummer end to a series. But again, I do think that this is to go 3-3 against the Padres and the Dodgers on a West Coast trip. I'm going to have to take the positive outlook at this for now, because the questions are being asked about what can they add. They will add at some point this season. They might not add in the way everyone expects, but they will find guys to add to this bullpen, potentially to add a starter as well. I think they will later in the season. For now, it's not a priority for this team. You got to see what the the other guys can do who are in the minors who've just been called up, or the guys who have been injured and when they get up. But yeah, a bummer of an end of a series for sure to not see the Cubs get another series win against the San Diego Padres. All right, so what's coming up next? So coming up next, the Cubs have the Diamondbacks in the 3-game series starting on Friday at 1:20. We'll be here live after we are every single game. And then they will face again the Los Angeles Dodgers and then the Philadelphia Phillies before the finally get a little bit. You get your break there at the end of the month when you start taking on the Pirates and the Brewers and start getting ready for some of your divisional games. It's funny, I'm looking at the schedule right now. I look forward to the 9-game stretch where they play the Marlins and the White Sox. 9 straight games. After this stress of what these series have been, looking for some cupcakes coming to Wrigley Field and going across town as well. All right, that will do it for us today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking us out. Remember, hit that subscribe button to the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. We'll be live after every single game. Matt and Sam will have a show coming up a little bit later today. And also, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, you can find us there. So hit that subscribe button there as well. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the off day on Thursday. Reminder, if you are a Bulls fan, I'll be live on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel tonight after the Bulls play-in game against the Miami Heat. So thanks for watching. We will talk to you on Friday.